There are countries so vast, they stretch across continents. And then there is Israel, a nation so small that at its narrowest point, it is only about 15 kilometers or 9 miles wide. Yet few places on Earth have shaped history, religion, technology, and global politics as profoundly as this tiny strip of land. Every year, millions travel here in search of faith, history, or opportunity. At the same time, decisions made within its borders often echo far beyond the Middle East, influencing diplomacy, security, and international debate. But Israel is more than the headlines that appear on television screens. Beneath today's stories lies a history that stretches back thousands of years. A story of kingdoms rising and falling, of empires leaving their mark, of exile and return, of innovation alongside conflict, and of a land revered by multiple faiths and claimed through different historical narratives. To understand Israel today, we must begin long before modern borders were drawn, back to an ancient crossroads where civilizations met, traded, worshipped, and fought for control. This is the story of a land whose past continues to shape its present, and whose future remains one of the world's most closely watched. Long before the name Israel appeared on modern maps, this land was known by many names. Among the earliest was Canaan, a region that occupied a strategic bridge between Africa, Asia, and Europe. Whoever controlled this narrow corridor controlled major trade routes connecting ancient civilizations. Thousands of years ago, merchants, travelers, and caravans crossed these dusty roads, carrying copper, spices, olive oil, textiles, and stories from distant lands. Along the Mediterranean coast, bustling ports connected local communities with powerful kingdoms across the sea. Inland, fertile valleys and rugged hills supported farming settlements, while fortified cities rose to protect valuable resources. This geography made the region both prosperous and vulnerable. It attracted traders seeking opportunity and armies seeking conquest. Among the peoples who lived here were the ancient Israelites, whose traditions, beliefs, and historical memory became deeply connected to the land. According to biblical tradition, the kingdoms of Israel and Judah emerged during the Iron Age. Although historians continue to debate aspects of this early period, archaeological discoveries suggest the existence of complex societies and political centers in the region during the first millennium BCE. At the heart of this landscape stood Jerusalem. Perched among the Judean hills, it occupied no great river and possessed no vast natural resources. Yet over centuries, it became one of the world's most influential cities. For Jews, it became the spiritual center, associated with the First and Second Temples. For Christians, it would later become the setting for key events in the life of Jesus. Centuries afterward, Muslims would also regard Jerusalem as one of Islam's holiest cities. Few places on earth carry such profound religious significance for so many people. Because of its location and symbolic importance, Jerusalem repeatedly became the prize of competing empires. The Assyrians expanded into the region during the 8th century BCE. They were followed by the Babylonians, who captured Jerusalem in the 6th century BCE and destroyed the first temple. Many inhabitants were taken into exile, an event that became a defining chapter in Jewish history and identity. Later came the Persian Empire, which permitted many exiles to return and rebuild the temple. Then arrived the armies of Alexander the Great, bringing Hellenistic culture across the Eastern Mediterranean. His successors ruled until Roman influence steadily expanded into the region. Each empire left behind more than military victories. They introduced new languages, laws, architecture, systems of administration, and cultural traditions, layering centuries of history upon the same hills and valleys. The stage was now set for another empire, one whose decisions would transform the relationship between the Jewish people and their ancestral homeland for nearly 2,000 years. By the 1st century CE, the Roman Empire had become the dominant power across much of the Mediterranean, including Judea. Roman rule brought roads, taxation, imperial administration, and periods of relative stability. Yet, beneath the surface, tensions grew between local populations and imperial authority. These tensions erupted into a series of Jewish revolts. The most significant began in 66 CE. After years of fierce fighting, Roman forces besieged Jerusalem. In 70 CE, the city fell. The Second Temple, the spiritual heart of Jewish worship, was destroyed. For Jewish communities, this was not only a military defeat, but a profound religious and cultural turning point. A later uprising, known as the Bar Kokhba Revolt between 132 and 135 CE, was also crushed. In its aftermath, many Jews were killed, displaced, or scattered across different parts of the Roman Empire and beyond. While Jewish communities had already existed outside Judea before these events, the Roman period accelerated and reshaped what became known as the Jewish Diaspora, a global dispersion that would endure for centuries. Across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, Jewish communities developed distinct traditions while preserving shared religious practices, languages, and a historical connection to the land of their ancestors. Through prayer, literature, and ritual, Jerusalem remained a powerful symbol of hope and continuity. Meanwhile, the land itself continued to change under successive rulers. The Byzantine Empire governed the region for centuries, emphasizing its importance within the Christian world. In the 7th century, Muslim Arab armies incorporated the area into expanding Islamic caliphates. Over the following centuries, control passed through the hands of Crusader kingdoms, Ayyubid and Mamluk dynasties, and eventually the Ottoman Empire, which ruled the region for roughly 400 years. Each era reshaped the landscape. New places of worship rose beside older sacred sites. Markets expanded, cities evolved, and diverse communities, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and others, lived in the region under changing political systems, though conditions varied across time and place. By the 19th century, sweeping changes were transforming the world. Nationalist movements were emerging across Europe, while many Jewish communities faced persistent discrimination and episodes of violent persecution. In this climate, a growing number of Jewish thinkers began advocating for a national homeland where Jews could exercise self-determination. This movement became known as Zionism. For its supporters, Zionism represented the aspiration to re-establish a secure national home in the historic land of Israel. Others, however, viewed the movement differently, particularly the Arab communities already living in the region, who had their own long-standing ties to the land and growing national aspirations. These differing perspectives would become central to the political debates and conflicts of the 20th century. As the Ottoman Empire weakened and the old imperial order began to unravel, the stage was set for one of the most consequential transformations in modern Middle Eastern history. By the early 20th century, the centuries-old Ottoman Empire was nearing its end. The First World War reshaped the political map of the Middle East, and after the empire's defeat, Britain assumed administrative control over the territory under a League of Nations mandate. This area became known as the British Mandate for Palestine. Britain now faced an increasingly difficult task. During the war and its aftermath, different promises and expectations had emerged among different communities. Many Jewish leaders hoped the mandate would help establish a national home for the Jewish people, drawing in part on the 1917 Balfour Declaration. At the same time, many Arab residents expected political independence and viewed growing Jewish immigration with deep concern. As immigration increased during the 1920s and 1930s, tensions intensified. New towns, farms, and industries were established by Jewish immigrants, while Arab communities continued to cultivate the land and expand their own towns and institutions. Yet competition over land, political representation, and the future of the territory fueled distrust. Periodic violence claimed lives on all sides, making coexistence increasingly fragile. Then came one of history's darkest chapters. During the Second World War, Nazi Germany and its collaborators systematically murdered approximately 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. The scale of the atrocity profoundly affected global opinion. For many survivors, Europe no longer felt like a place where they could safely rebuild their lives. The desire for a secure homeland became more urgent than ever. Meanwhile, Britain struggled to contain growing unrest in the Mandate. Facing mounting violence and international pressure, it referred the question of Palestine to the newly formed United Nations.
In November 1947, the UN General Assembly adopted a partition plan recommending the creation of 2 independent states, one Jewish and one Arab, while proposing that Jerusalem be placed under a special international administration because of its unique religious significance. Jewish leaders generally accepted the plan, despite reservations about the proposed borders, seeing it as a pathway to statehood. Many Arab leaders rejected it, arguing that it did not fairly reflect the wishes and rights of the Arab majority living in the territory at the time. The proposal deepened existing divisions, rather than resolving them. On May 14, 1948, as the British Mandate came to an end, Jewish leaders proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. For many Jews around the world, this marked the realization of a long-held aspiration for national self-determination after centuries of persecution and displacement. For many Palestinians, however, the same period marked the beginning of the Nakba, or catastrophe. During the war that followed, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were displaced from their homes, while many Jewish communities also faced attacks and displacement in areas affected by the fighting. These events remain deeply significant in the historical memory and identity of both peoples, though interpretations of their causes and consequences continue to differ. The Declaration of Independence was immediately followed by war. Neighboring Arab states, including Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, entered the conflict. After months of intense fighting, Israel secured its independence and expanded beyond the boundaries proposed in the UN partition plan. Jordan took control of the West Bank, while Egypt administered the Gaza Strip. The armistice agreements of 1949 ended the fighting, but they did not establish a lasting peace. Instead, they left unresolved questions about borders, refugees, security, and sovereignty, issues that would shape regional politics for generations to come. For some, 1948 represents the birth of an independent nation after centuries of longing. For others, it marks the loss of homes, communities, and a homeland. Understanding both perspectives does not erase their differences, but it helps explain why the events of that year continue to resonate so powerfully today. When the guns fell silent, the new state faced an enormous challenge, transforming a fragile country born in war into a functioning nation. In its first years, Israel's population grew at an extraordinary pace. Jewish immigrants arrived from Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, while later decades brought major immigration from the Soviet Union and Ethiopia. They spoke different languages, practiced different cultural traditions,
and brought diverse experiences shaped by both hardship and hope. Absorbing these newcomers required more than simply building houses. It meant creating schools, hospitals, transportation networks, and public institutions capable of serving a rapidly expanding population. Temporary transit camps gradually gave way to new towns and neighborhoods as the country worked to integrate successive waves of immigration. Across the countryside, another experiment was taking shape. Collective farming communities, known as kibbutzim, became symbols of cooperation and nation building. Residents shared resources, worked the land together, and sought to transform rocky hillsides and arid plains into productive farmland. Although only a small proportion of Israelis ever lived in kibbutzim, these communities played a significant role in early agricultural development, food production, and rural settlement.
Agriculture itself demanded constant innovation. Much of the land was dry, rainfall was uneven, and freshwater resources were limited. Rather than relying solely on natural conditions, Israeli engineers, scientists, and farmers invested heavily in technology. Techniques such as drip irrigation dramatically improved the efficiency of water use, allowing crops to flourish in regions once considered difficult to cultivate. Over time, advances in desalination and wastewater recycling further strengthened the country's water security, attracting international attention from other water-scarce regions. Alongside agricultural development, national institutions were steadily taking shape. The Knesset became the country's legislature, while the judiciary developed as an independent branch of government. Universities expanded scientific research, and public health and education systems continued to grow. These institutions helped establish the administrative foundations of a modern state, while supporting economic and social development. Yet, nation-building was never isolated from regional realities. Security concerns remained ever-present, requiring substantial investment in defense alongside civilian infrastructure. Immigration continued, and society became increasingly diverse. Debates over identity, religion, democracy, and relations with neighboring peoples remained part of the country's evolving story. Against this backdrop of challenge and adaptation, Israel gradually developed a reputation not only for resilience, but also for innovation. In the decades ahead, this small nation with limited natural resources would emerge as one of the world's leading centers of technology and entrepreneurship. It would earn a nickname that captured global attention: the Startup Nation. The Middle East is home to some of the world's richest oil reserves. Israel has no significant commercial oil reserves. Its rivers are few, much of its landscape is dry. Many of its neighbors possess far greater natural resources. By conventional standards, few would have predicted that this small country would one day become one of the world's leading centers of innovation. Yet, necessity often inspires creativity. As the young nation confronted limited resources, a rapidly growing population, and constant security pressures, it invested heavily in something no conflict could easily destroy: human knowledge. Across university campuses, research laboratories, and military technology units, generations of scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs began solving problems that extended far beyond Israel's borders. Soon, innovation became one of the country's most valuable natural resources. Morning breaks over Tel Aviv. Glass towers catch the first rays of sunlight as cafes fill with software developers opening laptops before the workday begins. Inside renovated warehouses transformed into startup incubators, whiteboards overflow with equations, prototypes, and ambitious ideas. Conversations shift effortlessly between Hebrew, English, Arabic, Russian, and dozens of other languages, a reflection of a society shaped by immigration and global connections. The city has become one of the world's most dynamic technology hubs.
Israel's innovation ecosystem has produced breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, agricultural technology, financial technology, autonomous driving, and advanced software. Thousands of startups compete not only to succeed locally, but to solve problems for an increasingly interconnected world. One field, however, has become especially significant: cybersecurity. Decades of experience confronting sophisticated security challenges encouraged major investments in digital defense. Many specialists who began their careers in elite military technology units later founded private companies, applying their expertise to protect banks, hospitals, airlines, governments, and businesses from cyber attacks. Today, Israeli cybersecurity firms help safeguard digital infrastructure used by millions of people around the globe. Innovation has also transformed healthcare. Within modern laboratories, researchers search for new ways to diagnose disease earlier, develop life-saving medicines, and design medical devices that improve the quality of life for patients worldwide. Israeli scientists and physicians have contributed to advances in biotechnology, imaging technologies, rehabilitation equipment, and emergency medicine, fields where scientific discovery can directly translate into lives saved. Global companies soon took notice. Technology leaders including Google, Microsoft, Intel, Apple, Nvidia, and many others established research and development centers across Israel, attracted by its highly skilled workforce, vibrant startup culture, and close collaboration between universities, industry, and entrepreneurs. For many multinational firms, Israel became not simply another market, but a place where the next generation of technologies could be imagined and built. Yet, success did not erase uncertainty. Beyond the glass offices and innovation campuses, reminders of regional tensions remained ever present. Missile shelters stood beside apartment buildings. Security systems blended into everyday life. Economic achievement continued to grow, even as political and security challenges persisted. In Israel, remarkable innovation and enduring uncertainty have often existed side by side, and nowhere is that contrast more visible than in the conflict that has continued to shape the lives of millions for generations. For all of Israel's achievements in science, technology, and economic development, one reality has remained impossible to escape: conflict. For decades, security has shaped nearly every aspect of Israeli life. Military service is a familiar experience for many citizens. Early warning systems, bomb shelters, and advanced missile defenses have become part of the country's everyday landscape. For many Israelis, these measures are viewed as necessary responses to repeated wars, armed attacks, and ongoing security threats. Yet across the same land, another story unfolds. For many Palestinians living in the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, daily life has also been shaped by decades of uncertainty, displacement, restrictions, political division, and recurring violence. Many families have lived through multiple generations of conflict, carrying memories of loss, displacement, and interrupted futures. The roots of today's conflict stretch back more than a century. At its core lie competing national aspirations, disputes over territory, questions of security, the status of Jerusalem, the future of Palestinian statehood, Israeli settlements, refugees, and the recognition of historical rights. While these issues are often discussed separately, they remain deeply interconnected, making compromise extraordinarily difficult. History has repeatedly opened windows for peace, and just as often, those windows have closed. Following the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel gained control of territories that remain central to negotiations today. In 1979, the Camp David Accords led to a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt, demonstrating that long-standing enemies could reach agreement under the right circumstances. Years later, the Oslo Accords of the 1990s generated cautious optimism. For a brief moment, many believed that two peoples might finally build a future side by side. Israeli and Palestinian leaders shook hands before the world, raising hopes that diplomacy might succeed where decades of violence had failed. But peace proved fragile. Violence returned. Suicide bombings, rocket attacks, military operations, and armed confrontations deepened mistrust. Political divisions within both Israeli and Palestinian societies further complicated negotiations, while changing regional dynamics added new layers of uncertainty. The conflict has never affected governments alone. Its greatest burden has been carried by ordinary people, parents rushing children to shelters as warning sirens sound. Families mourning loved ones lost to attacks or military operations. Communities rebuilding homes, schools, hospitals, and neighborhoods after each new round of violence. Children growing up knowing conflict before they fully understand peace. The attacks of October 7th, 2023, in which Hamas killed civilians and took hostages, marked one of the deadliest days in Israel's history. Israel's subsequent military campaign in Gaza led to extensive destruction and a severe humanitarian crisis, with large numbers of Palestinian civilians killed or displaced, according to multiple international reports. These events intensified global concern and renewed urgent debates about humanitarian law, civilian protection, the return of hostages, and the long-term future of the region. Around the world, governments, international organizations, legal bodies, and civil society continue to debate difficult questions surrounding self-defense, civilian protection, human rights, international humanitarian law, and accountability. These discussions often reflect profoundly different interpretations of history, responsibility, and the path toward a lasting peace. For many Israelis, security remains the essential condition for survival. For many Palestinians, dignity, freedom, and self-determination remain equally fundamental aspirations. These perspectives do not erase one another. They exist together, shaping one of the most complex and emotionally charged conflicts of the modern era. And perhaps that complexity is precisely why no simple solution has ever endured. As our journey comes to an end, one truth becomes clear. Israel cannot be understood through a single headline, a single conflict, or a single point of view. It is a country where ancient stones stand beside glass skyscrapers, where archaeological excavations uncover civilizations thousands of years old, while nearby laboratories design technologies that may shape the future. It is a land sacred to billions of people around the world, and home to communities whose histories, memories, and aspirations are deeply intertwined. Its story is one of remarkable resilience, extraordinary innovation, enduring faith, and painful conflict. It is also a reminder that history is rarely simple. The same events can be remembered in profoundly different ways, depending on whose memories we inherit and whose voices we hear. Perhaps the greatest lesson this land offers is that understanding does not require abandoning one's own perspective, but it does require the willingness to listen to another. Whether the coming decades bring greater cooperation or renewed confrontation remains uncertain. But one thing is beyond doubt. The story of Israel and of all those who call this land home is still being written. And like every chapter before it, the next one will shape not only the Middle East, but the wider world. If you enjoy thoughtful documentaries that explore history beyond the headlines, consider subscribing and joining us on future journeys through the people, places, and events that continue to shape our world. Because history never truly disappears. It simply becomes the present.